bhakti, devotion, I just want to hear from all of you, and just take a moment right now, if you'd like to close your eyes and tune into your heart space. What does, when you hear the word devotion or you say the word devotion, what is it that's generated inside of you? What does it mean to you? What does it feel like to you? What do you envision as your act of devotion? So just take a moment to tune into how that word is revealing itself to you. And if you feel this urge to speak about what you're feeling, I invite you to come forward and share that wisdom that's coming through now.
I got desire, like pure desire.
Desire.
And yearning for something.
Beautiful. I know God speaks to all of you. Please share.
I am getting the word unconditional and unconditional love. Laying down everything at the feet of the divine and dissolving back into it.
Thank you.
I was thinking about service to the collective, how when we put aside our individual differences and just serve the collective, that ironically our individual self gets the most happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I think of like a promise, and like a promise to but like an internal promise almost. You know, I mean, we're devoting something to a higher powers and divine and everything, but we're also doing that for us too. Like we are part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, my basically my daily devotion is like to promise myself something, and also like maybe you know, I think maybe a part of devotion is like a little bit of sacrifice, and I think that that's important too for me.
What do you think we sacrifice, Troy?
Things that we really don't need, or you know what I mean, like I just think of like some people like, well, I don't have time to do something every day, right? But I'm like, but do you? I think you do. Like, that's what I keep having to tell myself. Like, do I really need to be sitting on the couch watching TV right now, or can I be doing something that is going to make me better, and you know, like Anya said, make the collective better.
Yeah. Yes. And I love that you use the word something that we sacrifice, because, and you say it so perfectly with it's something that we don't need. And so sacred service, seva, is an act, a conscious choice of putting ourselves aside and being available to the world. And what we're making available is the love that is within us, right? And it's simple, right? Like it's a simple thing to, oh yeah, well, of course I have time, or of course I can, you know, put this aside to help my mom, even though maybe she said something or whatever, you know, like of course. But in the moment, it feels so difficult. And as we were chanting, I was thinking, you know, about my own life and what is my ultimate fear? And my ultimate fear is death. My ultimate fear is not existing, not having purpose, not being able to experience love. But if we believe what we believe, And we're here because I believe we all believe in love, right? That's why we're here. So if we believe in love and we believe in unconditional love and infinite love, then we as love would exist forever, right? So then there is no death. There's no need to endorse this idea that if I do this, I'm going to die. Or if they do this to me, I'm going to die. Or if this happens in the world, I'm going to die. Because if we truly understand love, we know that that's not true, right? And we can all pause and think about maybe somebody in our life that has hurt us or that we have hurt, or situations, but then there's like that underlying love of like, I know I haven't seen that person in so long time, or this happened, but you ever still feel that love for them where it's like it exists, sometimes maybe we don't want to admit it, that's the difficult part, but when we do, it's like, well, this happened because I love this person, or they did this to me because they love me. And sometimes that gets twisted and complicated, and depending on how we act out that love, but ultimately love exists in every part of our beingness, and that's going to exist forever. And so when we're talking about devotion, what are we devoting ourselves to? What are we emphasizing? What is it that we have our focus on? And maybe the question is, why are we all here in this space? Like ultimately, why did we come here today? Like community is so great, and singing and chanting is so great. But what is it that we're pointing our hearts to? What is it? And to me, love doesn't seem like a big enough word to capture it. And maybe it's because we kind of throw that word around, and I love you and all of that, and it developed maybe different meanings in the mind. But this force that brings me here and that connects me with all of you is so much deeper than any words can capture. And as we were talking about, when we started and the different beings that we, what was the words that you used? The
Beings that inspire.
That inspire us, all of that is an all-encompassing of this force that exists in many forms that we're just drawn to. We're drawn to these different deities or these different peoples or these different ideas of God or within ourselves, because there's some sort of force, there's some sort of presence that exists within all of those things that help us feel alive, that remind us that we're not going to die. And I'm getting off track with what I originally was going to talk about, and I'm going to bring that around because with devotion, if we recognize that force and we're able to recognize it within all of existence, it releases any judgment of good or bad or right or wrong. And in talking about seva and the sacred service and being available to this world to be that presence of love and to experience that love with the collective, we need to sacrifice something, right? We need to sacrifice this idea, the story in the mind that it's me versus them, or they are trying to hurt me, or this world is trying to hurt me. And we have these thoughts throughout the day, unless you've maybe mastered some sort of a practice where you've mastered the mind and you have control of it and you're peace and love all the time. Maybe, if so, please, let's turn the camera around on you and please teach us. But I imagine that we all have these negative thoughts that come in that tell us that we're separate. And that's why the practice of sacred service is so powerful, because when we're helping somebody else, it's just love that's present there. It's just this expression of devotion, and they're receiving and we're helping and they're helping. And it's this pocket of experiencing life together. And the other challenge that I think comes with it is when we have pinned certain people as those we we were willing to, share service with these people, but maybe not these people because they hurt us, or this group of people, they're doing something that, I don't agree with, or whatever it may be. But again, coming back to, if we recognize that love exists within everything, that this unnameable force exists within everything, well, then it better also exist there, right? Otherwise, well, we're back to that idea of death, us versus them. They're going to hurt me, or I'm going to hurt them, or whatever it may be. And so when we're looking at a situation or a person, and we distance ourselves from that, thinking, oh, I'm better, or I'm worse, or I'm more worthy than them, or I deserve forgiveness, but they don't deserve forgiveness. That is the opportunity that we have to pause and realize the existence of that force within ourselves and with whatever it is that we're feeling in conflict with. And then if we're willing enough, and if we can drop out these layers of the mind, this fear of separation, and remember that eternal life that exists within all, well, then we can see things so much differently, and it doesn't become us versus them, or whatever it may be. Then we're just in service of the world. We're just in service of love. Then we're a true expression of devotion. But it's those little moments, I think, that come up within me that's, oh, I can't believe they did that, or oh, that's too terrible, or, and I do that, right? Because I'm an energy worker, and I could say, nope, out, nope, love and light. I almost hit you. Sorry, I got really excited there. But what if instead of me saying nope, I was like, okay, let me feel this. Where do I think I'm going to die? Where do I think I'm going to be shamed or hurt or shunned or whatever it may be? Where am I going to be embarrassed? Like, that's a big one, right? We know we're going to be embarrassed about anything, right? And I'm really good at like keeping up this like model of like, oh, I'm a good person. No, I'm also other things too. Sorry, I'm just playing out all of my sins in my life. No. We'll be here for a little while. Speaking of that, another thing that was coming up during chanting was you were pounding on the floor, as you do when you get excited about Krishna. And my inner vision went into our basement and was like, there's a lot of cobwebs down there. Wow, it's really dusty. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But that's where I went. And I'm grateful because I was like, wow, everyone has cobwebs in their basement. And so do I. And it's dusty and it's dirty. And you know what? Like, I could go down there and like clean it, and I could bleach it and like make it like pristine. And then guess what? Like, the spiders are going to make their way back, and the mouse are going to shit in there, and like, and it's just going to get that way because that's what basements are for, right? They're just a collective space of energy. And usually energy that we don't want like, how many people invite people into their basement? Like, unless like your basement's finished, and then, that's wonderful. Do you invite people into your basement?
No, it'd be kind of cramped because I have a crawl space.
You have a crawl space, right? Yeah, we really don't want people in there. Yeah. But I never do. Well, I mean, sometimes it's like, it is really gross down there. But we all have that. But like, what if we invited people into our basements and we're like, hey, here's my cobwebs. I'm sure you have cobwebs too. Here's my cobwebs. Here's all of these. Here's these parts of myself that are human, that are sinful or bad or whatever, this part of ourself that, combats others. And if people could see that, then maybe they would also have an opportunity to be like, oh wow, like their basement is really dirty. Shit, mine is too. And it's the people that lock those doors that don't have, they don't create that opportunity to reveal all of themselves. And I was talking to a friend the other day about this dishonesty we have in our relationships with only revealing the parts of ourselves that we want people to see. And so we create this false identity. You know, people aren't able to fully see who I am if I'm not sharing, crying in front of them or getting angry or all of these things that happen. You know, they happen. I do get angry. And I had somebody ask me one day, like, how come you don't get angry? And I just laughed. And I was like, I think I need to be angry around here more so people can, like, am I hiding that? Because I don't want to. Sometimes I do. What?
Maharaji got angry.
Yeah, Maharaji, Jesus Christ got angry. You know, like, it just, it's normal, you know? But if we create this illusion about who we are, people don't get to know the entirety of our being. And then also on the flip side of that, how many illusions are we putting on other people? You know, how many people do we look at and already decide, oh, this is who that person is. You know, I know them. But what if we didn't know anybody at all? We're still trying to figure ourselves out, right? So if we don't really know who we are, how are we going to have any idea of who another person is? So these are the walls that we can start to break down and start to look at ourselves differently and start to look at others differently. And then that's when the devotion comes through, because we're able to experience that presence of love that exists within all, and service becomes easy. It's not as, you know, oh, I have to think about what service I'm going to do today. No, somebody needs help. We're just there. And we're experiencing these miracles of being out in the world and sharing that love with all beings. And then at the same time too, and this is difficult for those of us who are in the work of service, is receiving that service back to us, because that's the other half of the coin. Jenny, that's the other half of the coin. And I know that, right? Like, it's tough because that's the work that we do. We give ourselves over, you know. But can we, in my current practice, and I had somebody, Glenna Frey, if you ever watch this, I'm calling you out and thank you for the lesson, because the other day she comes up, she's one of our community members, and she came up to me, she watched one of mine and Paul's Facebook Lives on one of the Mondays, and I was talking about how difficult it is to receive. And I said, you know, when somebody gifts me something and I say, oh, no, you shouldn't have, or no, I can't accept that, or, you know, whatever I say to combat that, it takes that level of love down. Like, it just mutes the intention that's being created there, right? I mean, like, if you've given somebody something and they're like, no, are you like, well, what's wrong with it? Or why, you know, whatever it is, we create the stories in our mind, but what if we just said, thank you? You know, what if we just, oh, thank you for this gift, you know, represented in this beautiful person. And so Glenna Frey comes up to me and she's like, I have something for you. And I said, yeah. And she said, it's a test. And she looked me in the eyes, as she does. And she's not that intense. She's very sweet. And I said, okay. And she hands me this sweet, I should have brought it in, this sweet little knitted bee. And I love bees. And she's like, it's a gift. And I looked at her and she's like, remember from your live? And I was like, oh yeah, I better not screw this up. And I looked her back in the eyes and I said, thank you, Glenna. Thank you. And I held it to my heart and I received it. And I think that means I passed the test. But with devotion, you know, putting that service out there is so beautiful. And also receiving that service, allowing others to help us, that in itself, saying yes and thank you and being in gratitude is also an expression of that devotion. Like, feel how that feels when somebody gifts you. If you're just able to open your heart wide enough to like feel their intention and feel their love and support for you, and maybe sometimes that feels so intense that we don't want to receive it, because it's like, ooh, how can somebody love? They don't know what's in my basement. Like, if they knew me, they wouldn't gift this to me, you know? But what if we were just like, wow, because the divine knows our hearts and is like, they know what's in our basement, you know, they know that's there, and that yet they're using this person to gift something. So if we say, thank you, that in itself, I think is an act of devotion. It's acknowledging that eternal life, that eternal loving force that exists within all of us. And right now, it's being represented in this perfect way. And right now, I just want to pause with so much gratitude for this ever-loving, ever-supportive, ever-comforting presence that exists within each of us, within all beings, that exists with all circumstances and all that is. And may this message be recognized by that divine loving force. Me as this channel to speak these words, and may they touch our hearts in the most perfect ways. May we receive what we need to receive in this moment. And then pass along this message of love with all beings. Amen.